Here's to good friends, the ones we hold dear, the ones who will tell us what we need to hear, the ones who love us, right or wrong, and to all those good friends that give you this song.
Well, hello, good friends, and welcome back to The Last Walk Remember When, with your host, Ron Boundback. And we're going back in time again to the fun times. So, get up off your easy chair, walk over to your fridge, reach way back in the cupboard, get out a Clark bar. And that jar of Ovaltine you have not used since 1956. Open up, take a couple of heaping teaspoons and put into a nice tall glass. Pour in some chilled milk from your fridge. Stir it, make sure it's good and smooth. Go back to your easy chair, turn on your lava lamp, close your eyes, get ready. The Last Walk is back.
Life is too short, we get only one turn. With luck we find beauty, but we sometimes get burned. But if you've had a true friend, or perhaps love, you've experienced the peace of heaven above.
So friends, when we last met, we spoke about my back. The saga of my back, what happened when a good man from Robert Hall discovered I had something called scoliosis, curvature of the spine. We went through my long time with the cast, with the braces, with the surgeries in St. Charles Hospital out in Port Jefferson, Long Island, New York. And all the many roommates I had, all the people and the memories I had that made me in many we would go back to St. Charles for checkups every few weeks. I found myself, my mom and my dad, heading back in the car, taking a long ride, I think it was 55 miles east to St. Charles and Port Jefferson. One particular visit, a whole bunch of doctors waited for me in the examining room. They appeared to look extremely serious and concerned as they all reviewed my x-rays. They talked among themselves in a low hum, and I stood there sweating bullets. Finally, one of them turned to me and he said in a low voice, "Ron, we have a problem." I felt like it was Houston, we have a problem. "Ron, we have a problem. Your back didn't set right, and we'll need to do it all over again." I totally freaked out and started saying really intelligent statements such as, "No way! I served my time. I'm not going back in there again. Please, get me Dr. Larry," who was my favorite doctor, the tough as nails Dr. Lawrence. Somehow, some way, someone did manage to get my favorite surgeon, Dr. Larry, who came into the room, calmly in what appeared to be the best imitation of John Wayne you would ever see. This man calmly strolled over to the wall with the x-rays in hand. He carefully examined them, looked up and down, stoically. He walked over to me and he said, as he put his arm on my shoulder, Now, when our life returned to normal, whatever normal would be, some state of normalcy in the world back in 1965, my dad, who had a real passion for letter writing, sat down and composed a letter of thanks to the Robert Hall Company, specifically thanking that special salesman, whom I'm sure we had no idea who his name was, for what he did to me. I remember what he said in small words, but big meaning. This man saved my son's life. And it meant so much because I can hear the music of life. So things seemed pretty normal. I had to wear a cast for another about 6 months that protected me as I walked around back in school again. It was a fun time, but at least I was cured in my mind of my issue of scoliosis. So I wore this thing for a while to protect me as I went through the summer of 1965. And when I entered school again, first time in about a year, in St. Mary's High School, Manhasset, New York, I was rejoined with my classmates. It was a thrill, and it was like nothing had happened. All my friends saw me, recognized me, and they all told me how much they prayed for me over the last year. I heard people I didn't know I even knew telling me about that. It was really, really heartwarming. And then suddenly I'm in college, and my leg started hurting me, and it ached during a play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I couldn't walk that well. Then it went away. A few years later, it happened again, and I found something wrong on my leg. So I went back to my favorite doctor, Dr. Larry. I was now engaged. Went to see the good doctor. He did some little mini surgery, looked at me, said, "Everything's okay." I said, "Why do I get the pain?" And he said, "Sometimes, Ron, the pain is in the mind. When you get the pain like this, learn to bite a nail." And I learned that pain many, many times is in the mind. I would never take my shirt off anywhere, especially while at the beach. I was always embarrassed by my railroad track-like stitches that stretch along the length of my back, from the nape of my neck to my tailbone. That was, however, until I met the love of my life, my wife. We spent many a day of our courtship at the beach with her many, many friends who are still friends with her now. She made me feel incredibly comfortable, and I would gradually forget the fact I had these scars emblazoned on my body. It never mattered to her, and thus I started to not let it affect me anymore either. And about 10 years after surgery, I developed a wound in my back that would come and go, but would never leave me. I would go back and forth to the doctors to have it tested, but no one could find out what was causing this mysterious opening. I had to bandage it all the time, and I traveled around the world, always careful and fearful of what could go into this wound. Because of it being an open sore, I could not go into a pool or the beach with my kids. And it caused some disappointment for the children, as Dad had to be back on the sand and not jump in the pool, not jump in the ocean. I learned to tape my back for showers, especially when I traveled to some third world countries. Now, some 20 years later, 20 years of this thing on my back, my youngest son Ryan, wanting his dad to one day join him in the family pool, prayed incessantly for my back to heal. This young man, who was then probably about 5 or 6, prayed a lot for my back to heal. Months later, one morning, while I was in the shower, I felt something sharp start to come out of my opening in the back. It was really weird, like an odd small piece of plastic. Angrily, I reached back and I pulled this thing out of my back. I didn't know what it was, but it was a dime-sized clear substance. I took it, was angry as hell, and threw it away. Oddly, it then healed, and has been shut for the last 25 years. We now believe it was a piece of spinal disc that was lodged in my back and cannot be seen by any x-rays. Some doctors wanted to operate on me. Some called me right away after visiting them, said we have surgery planned for tomorrow over the course of those 10 years. And each time my wife and I said, let's keep going, one more doctor, one more doctor. My good Dr. Larry had long since retired, and I couldn't locate him. But finally, through the power of prayer and my son Ryan, it went away. Amazingly, the wound sharing and taking care of other people. And my son Ryan taught me the power of prayer. I'm forever grateful.
Oh, I've been so lucky and I've been so blessed. In spite of my failings, I've found success. For I've known love and I've known good times, and I have known friendship and written some rhymes.
You've been listening to The Last Walk, Remember When, with your host, Ron Baumbach. And a special thanks to Paul Cresone for the great song, Here's to Good Friends, heard throughout our show. And of course to Chad and Jeremy for our summer song, Carly Simon for Haven't Got Time for the Pain, Matthew West, The Power of Prayer, Jackson Brown for Doctor My Eyes, and ABBA, Thank You for the Music. And a special thanks, of course, to my son Ryan for the power of his prayer. And to my buddy, my college roommate Mike, for all the great work he does in his studio in the state of Tennessee, which makes our voice and our show sound so much better. The book, The Last Walk on Our Block, for which this show is based,